Peru, the land of Cusco, Machu Picchu, and the ancient Incan Empire that was nestled within the Andes. It's a nation built upon the export of its raw materials, minerals to be exact. These minerals are the lifeblood of the country, making up the bulk of its exports at over 60% and 10% of its GDP, providing the hard currency Peru needs to finance their imports and external debt payments. When it comes to mining, Peru is an international powerhouse. The country in 2019 was second globally in terms of copper, silver, and zinc production, third in lead production, fourth in tin and molybdenum production, and eighth in gold production. In short, the country has minerals, and they aren't afraid to extract them. Or at least they weren't, until protests began at the start of the year over a slew of political issues that ultimately reduced mining investment by 18% in 2023. But the government now in power, led by Dina Boluarte, has vowed to reduce red tape in the mining sector and increase investment, with the Minister of Mining publicly stating one of the objectives of this government is to unblock all mining projects. And what that means is opportunity, especially after a year of underinvestment. One of these opportunities is Element 29 Resources. Let's dive in. Originally founded by Globetrotters Resource Group, a premier project generator focused on Peru, Element 29 is a potentially undervalued explorer focused on advancing two large porphyry copper projects found within the Andes Mountains near the coast. Porphyry systems represent the largest of all copper deposits, and Element 29's properties prove it. The Elida project, located north of Lima, in 2022 saw its initial mineral resource estimate amount to 320 million tons of inferred resource at 0.32% copper. That works out to an estimated 2.2 billion pounds of contained copper. It's also estimated to contain 205 million pounds of molybdenum and 27 million ounces of silver, which on a relative basis puts Element 29 amongst the cheapest of its copper peers in terms of dollar per pound of copper equivalent, or market cap to copper equivalent. And that doesn't even include a phase 2 drill program that had a 404 meter hit of 0.45% copper either. Not bad for an initial resource. What's more, the estimate is based solely on Zone 1 at Elida. Geological mapping has mapped out 5 porphyry zones within a 2.5 square kilometer area, while the project as a whole is 192 square kilometers, leaving multiple opportunities for further expansion. Further down the Peruvian coast, we find the Flor Cobre project, which is centered within the southern Peru copper belt, a premium global copper district which has over 60 million tons of contained copper across projects such as the Cerro Verde mine operated by Freeport-McMoRan, or the Quellaveco mine being put into operation jointly by Anglo and Mitsubishi. Just to give you a sense of the opportunity here, Quellaveco is expected to pull 300,000 tons of copper out of the ground every year for the next 10 years. Slightly less developed than Elida, Flor Cobre contains two highly prospective porphyry copper targets known as the Candelaria and the Atravesado zones. The Candelaria zone is particularly noteworthy, with a 2022 drill program hitting 349 meters of 0.77% copper, including an interval of 1.42% copper over 123 meters. The zone contains a historical resource estimate from when Phelps Dodge was developing it, consisting of 57 million tons of 0.67% copper. So if you've made it this far, you're asking one of two things. Why copper, and who's behind the deal? Let's start with copper, a key piece in the green energy revolution. Here's some quick facts about that transition, courtesy of copper.org. A typical onshore wind installation can use up to 7,700 pounds of copper. Offshore installations use triple that amount. Solar power is estimated to use 1,200 pounds of copper per megawatt. A typical ICE vehicle, i.e. gas, uses 48 pounds of copper, while a hybrid car uses 88 pounds, and get this, your typical full-bore electric vehicle uses 183 pounds. That's more than 4 times the amount used in a gas engine vehicle. Those figures also don't include the infrastructure required for the grid itself, which the IEA estimates at 10 million tons of copper annually by 2040. The headline figure from Bloomberg NEF is 427 million tons of copper is required by 2050. That's 21 times annual production today, just to update the grid for net zero targets. Today, the world produces around 22 million tons of copper annually. Bloomberg expects supply of copper to fall short of demand between 2023 and 2027 by as much as 4.6 million tons per year, which they expect to result in at least a 20% price surge by 2027. Goldman Sachs anticipates up to an 8.2 million ton supply gap by 2030. And then there's Robert Friedland, founder of Ivanhoe Mines. Well, he may be a little biased, he's also in the know on the topic of copper. And he's reporting right now that we are experiencing just hours of visible inventory. Not years, not months, not days, hours of visible inventory. This is following 1.5% of global production coming offline at First Quantum's Cobre Panama mine and union issues at La Bamba's leading to a further 2% reduction in global supply. The short of it is that the world needs more copper and we're not doing the right things to get the world more copper. So back to Element 29. So who's behind the company? Element 29 is led by Steve Stackew, a mining exec with over 2.5 decades of experience. He previously served as a senior VP of New Pacific Metals, who has a large silver deposit in Bolivia, and assisted with the spin-out of White Horse Gold, now known as Tincorp. The company has the backing of Globetrotters Resource Group, with its president Richard Osmond, formerly of Inco, serving as the chairman of Element 29, while Paul Johnston, a technical advisor to Globetrotters, serves as a VP of Exploration. The leadership team as a whole has a laundry list of notable names they've been involved with. This includes companies like Teck Resources, Rio Tinto, Phelps Dodge, Trevally Mining, First Quantum, and more. In terms of ownership, Acosta Partners and Resource Capital Funds each own an 8% stake in the fund. Well Management holds around 7% of Element 29. Globetrotters is the largest shareholder at 12%, leaving about 65% of the shares to retail investors. So let's wrap it up. The world has a copper problem. It's a key ingredient to the ongoing green energy transition, and yet, simply put, we just don't have enough of it being produced. Copper mines globally are experiencing shutdowns over environmental concerns and populism protests. Well, the Peruvian government has committed to reduce the red tape in the mining sector and unblock any mining projects where mining makes up a large majority of its foreign exports at 10% of its GDP. While Element 29 may be early stage, its properties show potential for large copper porphyry deposits located at low elevations, close to the coast and near infrastructure. Mixed with the positive macro indicators for copper, it might just have a chance of being one of those next big copper juniors you're hearing about. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. If you could do me a big favor, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comment section.